My name is Kory Shore. I'm a pop producer. I'm based in Nashville right now. I travel back and forth between here and LA. Moving to LA this year after being in Nashville for 10 years. I'm from Philadelphia originally and moved to Nashville back in 2015. So I've been here for 10 years, which is crazy.
LA is about to get a little bit more sunshine.
Ah, thank you.
That'll be fun. Well, let's start with a little context. You know how I like to do these things and paint the picture of, where you were at. I know you were newly full time when we met, like a lot of our producers are. Went out, tried a lot on their own, kind of got over that first hurdle, and was like, okay, this is my job now. And then sometimes we are, not sometimes, pretty much every time, smacked with reality, right?
Yeah,
Um, the going full time is the starting line, right? Not necessarily the finish line. So I want you to
100%.
paint the picture of where you were at when we first met, just so people know.
Yeah, so well the I was I was a server, which I hated. Um and I had one artist that I was kind of producing regularly that was paying. And I got kind of so depressed and fed up with the serving job. I was like, you know what? I've been producing actively, 5 days a week, out of since 2015. So I the hard skills of it I've been doing for so long. But I got so fed up with the serving job. I was like, you know what? I don't know how I'm gonna make it work. I have this much savings. I know I did the math. I can survive for like 6 to 8-ish months if let's say I made no money. I can live off of it for 6 to 8-ish months and be okay. So I said, I'm just gonna quit and see what happens. Um, And my first month I made, $375. And I thought I was an idiot because I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna go broke. Like, I'm gonna go broke. Like, this is not gonna work. So uh it it kind of like the slap of reality was like getting through the first month and thinking more would come in and it not. Um and kind of like like just blindly trying different things and reaching out to everyone I knew and going on Facebook groups and like just trying things that I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to like get the word out that I existed and hoped that people would somehow come, or like a colleague would be like, "Hey, produce this person. This, my friend needs someone like that." And that did happen. Like that's kind of how I started. I got my start leading up to Dark Label and meeting Dan and meeting you and like um but like even though it was happening and the second month I went from 375 in the first month to just under 1,000 in the second month to just under 2,000 in the third month. um it was so like I couldn't predict anything and I had no system in place of like how I was getting work. It was just completely just planting random seeds and hoping that they would grow. And I had a lot of insomnia and I got really kind of like energetically drained with the whole like blind belief. Um, and just hoping it would work out. And I wanted something that was a little more concrete, sink my teeth into,
Hey,
which is why I ended up reaching out.
yeah, we had a nice little growth trajectory there.
Yeah.
300 a month, which I remember when 300 a month was a good month.
Yeah.
Hey, it's cool.
Yeah.
I still had a job though, so it wasn't. I was probably still living at home at that point too. This was years and years ago, but $300 for a session, you're like, wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
1,000 then 2,000. Yeah, I there's a difference. You know this, like difference between making money or getting paid and then knowing how to make money, right? So we can get
Yeah.
paid. I've met producers that have huge paychecks, but that doesn't mean they know how to make money, right? And
Yes.
when that gig is over and the money is gone, it's kind of back to, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Uh,
Yeah.
I think you could tolerate that for a little bit, especially when you're younger. But as we get older and responsibilities mount, we start to really prefer stability over random paychecks.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a skill in and of itself, right? Like there's the music skill, but then there's like the business skills of knowing how to actually maintain and work on the business, not just work in the business and grow the business and know what steps you can take to do that and um, create like a foundation to stand on instead of just feeling lucky and hoping you keep getting lucky. And someone like me, I mean, I have a wife, I don't have kids, but I have, a little dog and a cat that are my children. So I have some responsibilities, we have a mortgage, like there's, so if the HVAC goes down, that's it, right? Like we gotta figure that out. So, when you're faced with that kind of stuff, you really do want to develop the skill set of like, can I develop the skill set and belief systems to like healthily without burnout, like healthily function as an adult and cultivate an environment that creates good growth.
Becoming adult, they didn't tell us that part when we started music. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Kids for like, oh, it's great. It's a great industry. We can just be kids forever and stay young.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Right.
but it
Um,
actually creates more stress over time.
yeah. Well, it's one of the things I discovered quickly about the music industry when I moved to Nashville was that it was because so we don't have the structures in place that other industries have, right? So if you're a doctor, like without you don't have to put energy into how long a doctor's appointment is, how scheduling a doctor's appointment is, how the billing works. You're putting no energy into that. You're putting energy into becoming a doctor and then being a doctor. But there are clear societal boundaries around like, hey, maybe don't ask for your doctor's cell phone number and text him at 11 p.m. Right? That's a clear no go. And they won't give you their number. In music, we're responsible like a doctor to becoming really good producers, really good songwriters, really good artists, which takes about probably the same amount of hours as it would to get a doctorate degree. And so you're responsible for that, but then there's no societal boundary system around rates, how people pay, contracts, just normal, like, hey, maybe don't text me a mix critique at 2 a.m. Maybe just email me because I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that when I'm like, so it's like when I first wake up. So it's like, but part of the attraction that I had when I realized that was, and this is like, I'm throwing this back like 10 years ago when I was like trying to suss out if I even wanted to be in the music industry forever. Because I know I liked music, but I didn't know if I'd like the industry. But part of that was attractive to me because I was like, well, who, how are those pressures going to mold me? And what kind of person will I become growth wise? Like, not business, just like person, human through these pressures. And it kind of excited me. I was kind of like, well, this is really going to push me to be the best version of me I could ever be because there's just no guardrails. It's just the Wild West. And it's going to be hard, but it's also going to mold me into like I said, just an increasingly better version of who I am. Um, and that I found that really attractive. So that's why I
Yeah,
made the
you could
decision to
say
do
that
it.
about building any business. Building a business is a incredible personal development tool.
Yeah.
Not a required one, but it is. There's other ways to develop personally too. But not saying everyone has to do that, but it. I know for me, it's been one of the best personal development tools ever.
Yeah. Same.
Definitely will show you who you are.
Yeah, same. It really like, yeah, it's like hard and, you're going to have those nights of insomnia and all, the fear come up. But think about that. You're going to get through that fear and then you're going to learn how to manage it the next time it comes around. And then and then as you do that over and over again, it's not going to bother you. So you're learning how to hold more and more pressures gracefully, um,
Big problems
which
become
is great.
small ones.
Yeah, yeah, and
How,
it's really great, you know.
how long were you full time before you jumped into Darklit? How long were you out there being a cowboy?
Not, yeah, it felt really long, but it wasn't long. I think it was like I was just under a year at that point, or I went full time mid 2023. I met you after I got back from LA. I met with a former producer that you worked with, um, who recommended Dark Label, and I signed up like that night. So I did the little intake that night. I think it was probably like less than a year. I was probably coming up on that 8 month mark for me, where I was
When
and I was like and I was like full time. It was growing. I was probably averaging like upper 3,000 a month ish, mid upper 3,000, which was not an. It was barely enough to scrape by. Hence, like I had to get my spending down to like literally $10 a day and like only spend $10 a day on credit card swipes. Is
tell us
what I
the
call them.
$10 a day
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
You do mean
yeah.
literally $10 a day.
Yeah. I do mean literally. Yeah, I remember I told you the story. And you're like, oh, I want to tell the story. Yeah. When I went full time, I was running the numbers, and I was like, I have, um, I had 17 grand saved, and I was like, if I want this to stretch, and every producer I um called that was a peer of mine that has been doing it full time successfully for more than 5 years. So the first people I called were those people because I was freaking out. And I was just like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, and the number of the time that they all kept quoting individually was like, it takes about 6 to 8 months to start kind of getting a flow of work coming in when you're doing it all the time. And I was like, okay, 6 to 8 months. So I like took the 17 grand, divided it by like all my normal expenses, like, the mortgage, tax, property tax, group that into essentially a rent, right? Like how much am I paying for utilities every month? My personal overhead. Let's call it personal overhead. And I was like, okay, so that aside, that's my personal overhead. I still have groceries, I still have gas, I still have like, well, that's really the necessities. And then plus getting a haircut or whatever, right? So it's like, Netflix, all those things. So I was like tallying everything I had monthly subscriptions for, like down to the cent. And I was like, okay, if I want this to last like just over 6 months for me to live on, I could only spend like $10 a day on what I called credit card swipes. And so that's basically like $10 a day of anything that I'm swiping a credit card to buy. Which is like groceries. So if I went to go get groceries and it's $100 for that week, that's 10 days I'm not spending money past that swipe, right? Because my goal was to be under or at $300 on the credit card about, obviously other than like the other money, which is like all the utilities and stuff. So, um, that was kind of how I lived. And it was really, really hard, especially like because you get a Starbucks coffee and it's $10 at this point. Um, so basically, I just said no to myself all the time, and it got really hard because it was like, oh, I'm hungry, I don't want to cook, or like I'm hungry and I'm busy and I don't have time to cook. It'd be easier to get Starbucks, but I'm not going to get Starbucks because I don't have that. I don't have that. So I'm just gonna wait like an hour, and then I'm gonna grab like a snack bar or something and eat that to tide me over and figure that out. And um,
Your financial discipline was definitely a big, people come into Dark Label, we, work with them for a bit. We learn about them just like any relationship. And you start to see what people's strengths and weaknesses are. And, we all have them. We all have both. And I'd say your financial discipline, is a big, benefit to you? I mean, just the fact that you saved up that much money as a server and working other jobs. I mean, that's not easy to do. And
No.
today's economy, that must either taken a long time or you were really sacrificing stuff or both. I assume both.
It's
Um,
both. Yeah.
so the fact that you did that, however, you don't possess, sometimes the only downside to that is there's a difference between sacrificing spending for a goal and being like frugal in the sense that some people with that skill, like Nick Warner, another client of ours, very, very similar, very financially smart, good with saving money. He'll sacrifice if he needs to, can invest, but he also is willing to invest, right? And
Yes.
cool. 'Cause some people hoard money, especially as they make more of it in their business, because it's really fear driven, right? Because they're like, yeah, but what if I never get any again? It's like, well, if you don't feel like you can get money again, then you have a business problem, like, right? Like,
Right.
if you know how to run a business, of course, listen, anything could happen. Sure. There's always a little bit of the fear of unknown, but like, you know, if you're that worried about like, oh, this may be the last money I ever make, then it's like, well, then it probably will be, right? That's how you're treating it. So you're not going to
Yeah.
use it to grow. And so yeah, but you were still, so point being, even though you were willing to sacrifice financially and be smart with finances, you were also not necessarily hoarding money. You're like, hey, this money has a purpose, and it is to grow this business or to
Yes.
your life until you get it up and running.
Yes. Well, it's saying no to yourself in one way is allowing yourself to say yes in another way.
Right.
Oh, always. And that obviously includes other people too, but I feel like everyone talks about that. Well, a no means a yes, like yes, but in terms of yourself, it's like, I've met producers who have asked me how I've been full time, and the answer is never sexy. It's I want to go out to dinner. It's going to be $150 for my wife and I to go out to dinner if we want to like go to sushi and like make it a nice dinner. Um, and it's like in Nashville. Asterisk, Nashville is expensive. But, and it's like, or I can go to the grocery store, cook a nice dinner, make it a vibe, and you know what I mean? And yeah, we go on dates still, but it's just like sometimes saying no and still finding a better, yes that way can allow you to say yes to doing music full time. And eventually you're gonna grow it. It's not, it's like it's a
Yeah.
temporary situation, right? You're not saying you're not gonna live like I'm not doing the $10 a day thing anymore, like at all. But like I needed that gear to get to where I am now. And to your point, Dan, too, it's like, yeah, like when I met you, it was like a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, this guy is like awesome. He's legit. He's gonna provide me clarity. He's gonna help me get to where I think I would naturally get in 3 years of trial and error, but he's gonna get me there in 6 months of doing it. And I will invest any amount of money to save time
Yeah.
because I can make more money. Can't get my time back.
100%. Yeah. You can get money back, but you cannot get time.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was thinking about this because I was going to do a video or podcast on it. And I totally get it. Like, I'm not just saying this stuff like, oh, this is just stuff anyone should know and think this way. I don't, this is learned, but it's like, um, producers will get real wrapped up in like, yeah, my time is value. I want to earn money for my time. Right. And it's like, okay, so you value your time. But then when it comes to like, well, I don't want to like take a couple grand out of savings to grow my business because, you know, that's money, right? Even though it'll save me a year of time. It's like, well, then do you value your time? Right. You have to give something
Yeah.
up that's immediate, right? So I know it's not exactly a fair comparison, but it's it is conflicting. Um, as to where I always operated based on, because it was just driven into my head at a young age. It's like money you can get back, time you can't get back. No matter
Yes.
how hard you try, no matter how rich you get, you ain't getting time back. Money, you can lose it, you can make more of it. So I always looked at money as way less serious than time. So I myself have always been into, you know, cool, yeah, if I can use this money to hire someone else to do something, that's to me what it's for. However, I understand that if you're in a position where it's like, yeah, but I don't, money is random to me. I don't know how to control, to go make it when I need it. Well, then, yeah, sure, that you're not going to feel it's a chain reaction. So first you put yourself in a position where it's like, cool, okay, I understand even though it's like not my favorite thing, music's my favorite thing, but at least I understand the art form of like, okay, how a business works and how I can go, generate income for myself if I need to. That unlocks the confidence to be like, okay, well, now that I have that, I'm willing to invest this money in order to speed things up, and keep,
Yeah.
um, and then that unlocks a chain reaction to be like, oh, okay, cool. And it just keeps, it is this positive flywheel. But when we kind of hoard our resources, both time and money, it creates kind of this negative flywheel. So I've talked to producers where, and it's okay, I'm not judging anybody, but everybody comes to their own conclusions at their own time. Um, where I've done a financial, I know they have money sitting aside. Like, sure, that is their savings or their emergency or whatever. Um, so I get that. They're like, I don't want to touch that if I don't have to. I was like, for sure. But then their business is dying. And it's like, you're going to have to touch it if your business doesn't make money. You get that, right? So all
Yeah.
you're doing is you're creating a slower death. That is a
Yeah.
definite one versus using resources to get yourself out of that situation. And if they don't truly believe that's a possible thing, then that's when we get into the thing of like, well, buddy, if we don't change that thought, then this just might not be for you, you know?
Well, think about this. I mean, like most music aside, let's take a more like traditional career. Like most traditional careers, people move cities because their job relocated them. That is a financial investment, also like just a personal upheaval, right? Of to make money. So that's what that is. That's right. And so it's like that happens all the time. Lawyers, doctors, accountants, everyone does that. And so it's like if people in more traditional jobs are doing that, it would make sense that there has to be some give and take to investing in your business as a producer if you're serious about like actually making it like doing the thing. And also like I mean I it depends on your belief systems, of course. I mean, I have a belief system that you can have blocks, like energy blocks around your relationship to anything, but also including like money, right? Like we all have a relationship to money, and you have to, I would encourage anybody who's listening to, you know, I'm married to a therapist, so like asterisk, I'm married to a therapist, so this is we live in this world, but look at that relationship to money for you and what is it bringing up, because if it's an unhealthy relationship or it's a scarcity relationship, you're going to, without thinking, make decisions based on that, and they probably are not going to be positive for your business and your life. And so it's being able to sit down however you want to, whether it's writing a song or journaling or just sitting down and thinking about it or talking about it with a friend. But figuring out like what is my relationship to this? What's coming up for me? What am I actually afraid of? What does money mean? Like, were you raised in an environment where money meant that you as a person were more valuable because you had money? So if you spend your savings, you are losing value as a human. That's going to affect how you invest, right?
Absolutely.
Small tangent.
People don't want to think about money, which I understand. But I know for myself, because I've been through all the phases of careers anybody else, um, the broke times and the not so broke times. And I'll say that the best way to not care about money is to know how to make it and have it. I probably think about money less than most people,
Yeah.
just because I'm fortunate enough, not through a little luck. I'm sure everything has a little bit of luck, but through just the basics of like, cool, okay, here's how you build a business. I mean, listen, we only have today. Anything could end tomorrow, but for the past at least 13 years doing music full time and making a above average income doing it, um, yeah, I probably think about it less. So, um, think there's this thing of like, oh, if someone is business into the business side, they're less artsy or they think about money too much. They think I was like, it's usually the opposite, actually. Um, I'm sure you've had
Yeah.
clients, right? With that the occasional client that maybe they just come from a lot of money or have a lot, or the label. Like think about when the label's paying for it, right? And money is no option. It's like, yeah, no one's thinking about it because it's taken care of.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and also I mean, you can also feel like you can feel intuitively like how people feel about certain things and with like if someone is more like again, like I'm gonna before I say this, one of the coolest things about pursuing this and walking this path, which everyone's looks different, but you're on a personal path in this in music. One of the more beautiful things about it is as you continue to walk through the path, whether you believe it or not, you start to realize that there's just an abundance of opportunities. There's so much opportunity out there. It's insane. Even if you don't believe that now, as you keep going, you start realizing how much is out there and like how many like people are out there that are serious and how many artists that are out there that are ready to get their songs that they've been sitting on for 2 years produced because it means that much to them and they've been saving up for it and they're ready. And they've just been looking for the right person, and that person might be you. So it's just um there's a lot. So before I say that, but the belief systems that I had to learn before meeting you, Dan, just to breathe air and not freak out is just reminding myself, like when I was on the $10 a day thing, was like when I made $375 and I looked back on my month and I was like, wow, if this is what it is for the next 6 months, I'm losing all that money I saved up and going back to serving, which was like so abhorrent of an idea for me because I really did hate it that much for so many reasons. That I was like, I started panicking, but I had to keep reminding myself and regrounding in that, well, I know that today I'm full time and I have enough money to eat today and I have a roof over my head today. I don't know about tomorrow, but I know today I'm okay. And I had to keep doing that every day. And eventually a year goes by and you've been okay for a year. You know?
100%.
um, Way easier said than done. That was a really emotionally hard practice to be like, I want to freak out about tomorrow, but eventually it starts to expand. It's like, well, now I know that this week I'm financially good. I don't know about next week, but I know this week I can afford. And then you go, well, I don't know about next month, but I know that this month I'm good. And I had months that I would go into with nothing on the books. Like the first of the month would roll around, nothing was scheduled session wise that was paying at all. And and I'd freak out. And then I'd get to the end of the month and I look back, I'd be like, oh, I made $2,500. Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Like, um,
To-
just cool. It's cool to look back.
That's why I tell there's like it's like an exponential growth curve, right? Because you're like,
Yes.
man, I just had to do all that work and all this pain and suffering, and all I made was 375. And our brain, your wife probably could describe this better than me, but like we're wired to make things permanent, right? So we're like, oh, that's how it is. So that's why a lot of people experience getting paid in music. Even there's a lot of people that have made some money in music, maybe part time, and like they quit because they're just like, this just logically doesn't make sense. If it takes X amount of work and I only get paid X, and that's how it's going to be forever, then how would this even work? And that's why I tell people, don't use logic at the beginning. You'll talk yourself out of it because it doesn't make logical sense at the beginning. Because what happens over time is your skills get better. You have leverage, which is huge, right? And it's like,
Yes.
oh, sweet. I used to have to reach out to. I have some people that they have to hit up 400 artists before they get one project, and they're like, Dan, I can't hit up 400 artists just to get one project. It's like, well, that's how it's like today, but in 3 months, you'll hit up 20 artists and get two projects, because you have leverage, the skills go up. It's an exponential growth curve.
Yeah, they'll look at your Instagram and they'll see all of your posts are just album covers of work you've worked on. And that looks very professional for a producer. That's a very producer Instagram. It's like, producer videos or just Here's all the work I'm doing. You know what I mean? Here's a spot, not a SoundCloud link over time. Here's a SoundCloud link. 2 songs. Here you go that are released by artists. So it's like that just naturally happens over time. And the word, by the way, is called catastrophizing.
Mm,
The
gotcha.
word is catastrophizing. It's the act of extrapolating out your emotions and beliefs in the moment to infinity and saying, well, this is representative of my future forever, so therefore I will not do this.
Okay.
Instead of realizing, oh, I'm just like instead of feeling that, but then going, oh, I'm feeling this and I'm freaked out about the future because I'm worried that in 2 years I'll still be reaching out to 400 artists and only to get one artist. But you can recognize, well, that's just catastrophe. I'm just catastrophizing right now. Um, and that's not true. It feels true, but it's not true. you know?
Now I have a label for our YouTube comments.
Yeah. 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 That's like the therapy words, catastrophizing.
Hey, buddy. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's a great word.
Lapsing, but who knows? I could be wrong. But well, what were some of the? Let's start. That's great. I'm glad we got to have the money conversation because I think that's something unique you bring to the table, and your experience and how you look at that. What would you say the biggest, if you had to boil it down to like, this is the main issue I'm trying to solve by coming to Dark Label, and then we'll start painting the picture of what you learned and what we did,
Yes.
how things ended up.
Yeah, I mean, clarity is probably clarity and like clarity in an actionable way, essentially. Like having an actionable plan that I'm clear on, that I can repeat, that gives me the confidence to know how to get more work when I need it. Um, because that was the thing I was struggling with. Like I've been in Nashville. By the time I went full time, I've been in Nashville for 7 years. I had a community which was helpful to leverage. And I've been around, I've been writing, I've been taking sessions actively throughout those 7 years. So it's like I was a very active member. So I wasn't starting from zero on the community front. I was starting from zero on the business front and making money from production. So I was like, so I got a few peers to be like, oh, my friend is an artist and she's looking for a producer and he's looking for a producer. So I got a few of those hits before I met you, but they felt so random because they were so random. Um, and there was no way I could repeat that. Like in my brain, I was like, how do I? That's so unpredictable. Like it's cool that that happened, but like
For sure.
go ahead.
You're describing how most full-time producers go full-time. It's usually they have a network. It doesn't have to be in Nashville or anything. There's a lot of people that think that's everything, right? Oh, if I have connections, I'll have a business. Well, you just shown that that's not necessarily the case. If everybody's just co-writing with each other, no one's making any money. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like just because you're around really great people that are talented, you're not a built-in business from that. Because a lot of people move to Nashville and a lot of people leave Nashville.
Yeah.
So not you moving to LA, but like people kind of throwing in the towel, right? Like co-wrote with a bunch of different people for 10 years, nothing popped off. And like, all right, I guess I'm done with this. But they know a lot of cool people and are talented. But yeah, most of the time people go full time because there's enough work coming from their network. They may have played in a band in their local town in Orlando or whatever, and all the other bands want to record with them, or they went to Berkeley or Belmont or whatever and had, their peers became their clients and that works. But usually I'm glad it showed up earlier for you because a lot of producers that come to us, the worst thing that can happen is that lasts for like a decade because
Mm,
you're really far removed from like obviously the longer we're in this, the harder it is to learn new things because adapting is very hard for people to do. So I meet producers that are 10 years in and they've never actually had to learn how to go get work because all their work came from their network. But over time, people move, they quit, they start producing themselves, whatever. The network goes down and they don't know how to replace it. And then they come to me 10 years later, like, crap, what do I do? That's a very, very common story. And now they're 10 years in, they kind of got a little bit of ego. They've been doing it for a while. And it's actually harder to teach them the process than it is a kid right out of college that's just like, yeah, whatever, tell me what to do, I'll do it. You know,
Yeah.
there's again going back to that time thing and why it's so important. It's not just like, oh, I want things faster. It's like, no, as we get older as humans, it does, it can become harder to adapt and learn new things. So the earlier you can do that, the better. I mean, I can give you a billion case studies of guys crushing it later on in life. So anybody listening to this who's older, it's not over. That just is going to come down to their ability to be open to new things and adapting. And in general, that is harder to do for all of us as we get older, right? Just
Yeah. Well, and we have, we also don't have the benefit of being 18 and getting 4 hours of sleep and living on McDonald's and it not having any kind of physical effect on us. We have to sleep and eat well and whatever. And we have responsibilities and stuff, that, but I actually think it's a good thing because like when I was 18 or in 19 and 20 in early 20s, like I abused that. I didn't have to even I was so unboundaried in the way I made music because I could abuse my body and with no ramifications. Um, and now I am so boundaried because it's like I love music. It's like the one thing I love. I love it so much. And I still have like work hours and not work hours now because if I don't, I will burn out. And I've burnt out so many times in my life. From not having those boundaries. So I think there's also a positive to being, if you're listening and you're older, there's a positive to that because you have the benefit of being able to cultivate a more boundaried system that's sustainable over a lifetime. Versus being like if you're a 20-year-old, you have the benefit of just like,
going full.
yeah, eating dirt,
I know,
all day, every day and being okay.
100%.
Um,
We've
but
been together now for what? We did our first 6 months and then maybe been another.
yeah, well, we've been together,
What are
yeah,
things
for
like
a
now?
while.
How's the business different? What were big kind of now that you've gone through it? What sort of big takeaways been and
Yes.
paint the picture of that?
Yeah, and just like to clarify, like, yeah, so pre-meeting you, Dan, it was to get clarity on how to create that like a solid foundation, know how to get work, know how to have options when work is going down, and how to keep it more consistent instead of the normal freelance cycle of like sell, ton of work, but then you're not selling, and then you are out of work, and then you're freaking out, and that's like a cycle. So it's how to break that cycle. Now, I'm getting really good. Asterisk, I'm getting better, not the best yet, but I'm getting better at the balance. From your help, like from literally all your help, honestly, and like being able to listen to my problems and so clearly will listen so well to my problems, and then be able to creatively create a solution to that that felt super approachable, doable, not overwhelming, and extremely actionable. And with clarity, which is I think one of your super, super duper strengths, Dan, is like you're so creative in the way you think about how to help everybody. It's like awesome. It's like awesome to be around. You have such a good mind for it. And like, now having been in Dark Label for, a while, I have a confidence that I totally didn't have before where I know how to get work. I like know how to like flex my like instead of just being like, well, this is my offer, this is my rate for one song, period. And if you can't match it, get lost, artist. It's like you help me really figure out, well, how do I meet artists where they're at while still honoring my rate? And there's so many creative solutions to that, right? Day rates, hourlies, co-production with other producers, and how to split up those costs. And like, there's so much creativity you can have to keep to allow the net you cast to catch, for lack of a better word, like more fish. Because now your offerings, you're you're serving the people you're talking to. It's so more concisely though. the reason why I came to Dark Label was the clarity, getting some actionable clarity, and I totally feel like I have so much more of a handle on it. And I know that you exist, which so if I'm ever in like a freak out, I know that I have somewhere to go. I'm not alone. I think it's also like the knowledge that like there's like a whole community of people around that are in Dark Label. So we're it's such a helpful like no ego community. So um
Yeah,
that's just unbelievable.
we, we get humbled fast.
Yeah.
Many for ego in there because you realize, oh, not quite as good as I thought I was. You know, so it's
Right.
everybody humble. Um, and I assume we're making more than 375 a month now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, this past month, I mean, in full transparency, I made almost 6,500 this month.
Good. So getting
So yeah, yeah,
double
getting up.
the year of what you were doing.
Levels. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Now it's, I mean, and the thing is too, is like quality of life really like 3,000 to 4,000 a month changes quality of life, right? Like 4,000 to 5,000 changes quality of life, like so immensely. So it's been the gratitude and the positive energy that I get to wake up to every day now, just being like, and it's not lost on me. Like, I think that's one of the things that keeps me grounded. It's just the gratitude that, like, the future's, no matter what, the future is just the future and it's uncertain. So I always reground. I still reground in the, hey, well, today, like, I know I'm okay. I'm at peace with that financially, that I'm right now, I'm financially okay. And I'm doing music.
Yeah.
That's so sick, you know? So, and I'm working with people I
Yeah.
love.
I think, especially in the first, because you're, I guess, still in the first, whatever, 2 years or
Two
whatever.
years. Yeah.
Mhm.
Under 2 years.
Um, it's good. I mean, I think people want to come in and we had a little bit of this too. I think we had like a big goal, you know, like 10K a month immediately,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is most people's goal. Um, I will say that I know from my, like, I didn't do that. I know it's more common nowadays. You see a million YouTube videos talking about it, but when I was in my first 2 years, I didn't know that you just went from zero to $10,000 a month. You know, I didn't know that. I'm sure it was possible. I'm sure people did it, but I didn't know that. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't. There weren't any YouTube videos talking about that back then in 2011, 12, or whatever. So I actually prefer like a nice stable growth because when you get to that 10,000 a month take home, which doing that in the first, 2-3 years of a bit, that's very good. People don't look at it
Yeah.
as good. I know the economy it gets more expensive, but I know that's like not what it was 10 years ago or whatever. But like you know how to handle it. Because I also do meet with I met this producer, his YouTube channel popped off, he started getting sponsorships, now all of a sudden he's making all this money a month. And like a lot of people, what they end up doing is like, yeah, they'll make 10,000 a month. I can tell you they're spending 20 because they don't know how to handle 4,000 a month. And now you've just given them 20,000 a month. What do you think they're doing with it? They get the
Yeah.
nicer apartment, they get the nicer this, they buy the bigger camera, they get, and then it goes away for like 1 month just because, business models sometimes dip occasionally. And they don't know how to handle it because they've never handled. I usually make six, crap, it dropped to four. What do I do? They're going from I used to make 20, now it dropped to nothing. What do I do? It's developing. It's like we all need to go from 4 years old to 40 years old. The years in between 4 years old, I mean, between 4 and 14 years old are very important years, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to go in life from like you're four, now all of a sudden you're in the eighth grade. Like, that would be crazy, right? It's like, no, you got to
Yes.
grow up and sort of get used to life and learn how to play with other people and, how to talk to people and learn things. Money's the same way. So I don't understand people's like, I want to make as much money as fast as possible. And it's like, yeah, you don't actually want that. You think you want that.
Yes.
That's only because you've never seen the ramifications of that versus focus on building a stable business and you will build sustainability and wealth over time. And then when you get to, you know, like I don't rarely talk about the months that we do financially because like to other people, they won't even comprehend. To me, it's whatever because I've slowly grew into it over 13 years. So It's just kind of like, yeah, no, I mean, we've been doing it for that long. Of course, it gets higher, and it's just a different level of business. But it's less like that. Most people that win the lottery, right? They blow it all, or don't know how to handle it, or it breaks their families up, or whatever. It's like a similar kind of thing. You get a little bit of that trust fund effect when a bunch of money's not that you didn't work for it, but like you get a bunch of money thrown at you at one time. That has its own issues. So I like your growth trajectory. I think that's solid.
Thank you. I love it too. I mean, I'm and to that point, like I had a great month this month, but February and March were so low. I think I made $1,000 in February only because like it was like just this weird, awkward period of like closing a lot of projects in January. I had a great January, like an $8,000 January. And then February was like such a weird month, but it didn't phase me because I had an $8,000 January and I didn't spend I didn't spend in January like I had an $8,000 January. I spent in January like I had a $3,000 January. Like you want to live below your means. Like, you know,
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
um
That's why I like to look at things in quarters generally.
yeah, is
Quarter
it
because a 90-day
can
period is usually a good indicator. People can have a weird month. We have weird months sometimes. It's like, yeah, just things didn't align that month. Doesn't mean the business is failing or that we're doing anything wrong. So I
yeah.
like to look at it in 90-day periods because over a 90-day period, maybe you can tell like, okay, we're doing something wrong here, or like the YouTube videos we're making are not working, or we're doing, that's fine. That's like a long enough window um, to kind of tell. But we look at it in quarters. Is
Yeah, and it was in that period where I called you in a freak out because like I was like, "Oh, I like what do I do?" And you gave me like really just again like really grounding actionable steps to do, which I was doing a little bit of already, but just kind of help clarify exactly what I need to do, and it just really helped me feel like instead of just being like, "What do I do?" It helped give me a sense of uh oh, here's something I can do. I can take my nervous energy and scared energy and put it into this, which will yield results, and it did. And so, it's just a really the skills you develop, especially like you can, especially through meeting you, Dan, is like you're just so good at helping people figure out specifically what that person needs, given who they are, their strengths, their weaknesses, their situation, and creatively solving that, creating a solution for where they're at, and it's a superpower. You have that superpower.
Yeah, it's fun to do. It's very fun to.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kory. That's a cool conversation. I don't think a lot of producers get to hear. I'm glad we leaned into that topic, the money thing. I think that's a big one to. That's just the most unpopular one for people
Yeah.
that people don't hear about a lot. So I think that's great. I think this convo will help a lot of people, man. So I appreciate time and willingness to share your experience.
Yeah, thanks for having me, seriously.